Hey class, I wanted to add a little more detail to the argument that I reconstructed the other day. So this is what we had, basically. We had the main conclusion following from 2 through 4. And the subargument, right, here from line 1 to line 2, right? Line 2 is a intermediate conclusion, right, which also functions as a premise of the main argument. But one of the things I wanted to add is that in the video, if you're watching the scene closely, right, Bedemir says, they assert this line, if this woman weighs the same as a duck, then she's made of wood, as a kind of conclusion based on other reasoning. And that's something that I didn't build into the reconstruction that I did the other day. So I'd like to do that right here. And if you remember back, and you can go back and watch the scene, they're talking about what else. So wood floats in water, and what else floats in water? And then King Arthur comes along and says it's a duck. Right? So the reasoning seems to be, again, it's silly, but it seems to be something like this. Both wood and ducks float in water. And then based on that, we're supposed to be able to conclude that, therefore, if this woman weighs the same as a duck, then she's made of wood. And if it's true that all witches are made of wood, which is what line 2 says, then we're supposed to be able to conclude that she's a witch, as long as we can also, know that she weighs the same as a duck, which they show us. So the point is that this is line 4 here is also a kind of intermediate conclusion, and it follows from line 3. And so our main reconstruction now is going to be, the main conclusion is going to follow from 2, 4, and 5. And that's, I think, now we've got 2 sub-arguments, right? The argument from line 1 to line 2, and the argument from line 3 to line 4, and then the main conclusion supported by lines 2, 4, and 5, right? So that's the structure of this argument. I want to say something really quickly about the logic of the argument, because the main conclusion does indeed, as I've reconstructed it here, rely on this premise that all witches are made of wood. They say explicitly in the scene, witches are made of wood, right? Why do witches burn? Because witches are made of wood. So I've paraphrased that as all witches are made of wood. But if you think about that, the logic that I'm capturing here in terms of the main argument, right, is actually invalid. It doesn't follow. Because all witches are made of wood, and if this woman weighs the same as a duck, that she's made of wood, right? So look at this. Look at 4 and 5. What 4 and 5 gets you is that this woman is made of wood. So we could actually put that in here. So I'm going to do that. This woman is made of wood, and that would follow from just 4 and 5. If you think about it, you should see that that's true. And I'm going to have to change our main conclusion now. So the main conclusion now would just follow from 2 and 6. 2 and 6 is what the main. So there's our new kind of reconstructed argument here. What I've done is I've explicitly made this inference here on line 6 that follows from lines 4 and 5. So the main conclusion now is just falling from 2 and 6. So think about that. If all witches are made of wood, and this woman is made of wood, does it follow that this woman is a witch? And what you should see is that the answer to that is no. It doesn't follow. Just because all witches are made of wood and this woman is made of wood doesn't mean that this woman is a witch. Rather, in order to make it valid, we'd have to have had something different here. We'd have to have had something like this. Everything that is made of wood is a witch. Now, if that's what they had asserted, right, in the scene, then indeed the argument from 2 and 6 to 7 would be valid. But of course, that's not what they said. They said this, and because of that, the argument is invalid.